Hey, Changemakers, welcome to another live Empower Hour session. And I'm here with my Beagle friend and mom, Susan Diaz. So we found out that we both are owners of Beagles. So I thought maybe we could chat. Oh, okay. Is it a he or a she?
Hey, his name is
Okay.
Lupin.
Oh, well, maybe our Beagles can be girlfriend and boyfriend because I have a girl. Yeah, Carmela. What's your Beagle's name?
Lupin.
Oh, cute. What a cute name. Oh my goodness. Well, Changemakers, welcome to this live episode where we are going to be uncovering the AI advantage in your marketing. So don't forget, this is a live show. So if you have questions, you need some coaching, we are here for you. So do make sure that you pop your questions in the chat, no matter where you're watching. We're live on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook. And so we are here to support you on your journey as a change maker. So I want to just do a brief introduction on Susan's genius. And so Susan is the founder and CEO of Peaceful AIM Marketing. I love that. Peaceful. Marketing got to be peaceful, where she helps small businesses founders scale their business by 100 times in the age of artificial intelligence. She is the author of Unboring: Take Your Content Marketing from Blah to Brilliant, which is a guide to marketing for being engaging and effective. She co-hosts two popular podcasts called the 4 a.m. Report and an AI literacy podcast answering AI questions that keep founders up at night, and ABC DEI conversations of unlearning bias, one alphabet at a time. When she's not revolutionizing the marketing world, Susan is a dedicated mom to a hermit tween and a high energy beagle who keeps her on her toes. So today we are really here to support your marketing through an AI lens and what we can be doing to make that pop, um, be more impactful and help to make the world a better place. And I know AI has a bit of a bad rep, and certainly I see it in the classrooms at York, that students sometimes are struggling with how to use it effectively. And of course we're always concerned about plagiarism and transparency and authenticity. And so I'm sure that everybody can relate to the fact that while AI is an incredibly powerful tool, it needs to be done in the right context. So, Susan, welcome. And maybe you can start by telling us a little bit about yourself and about your AI based marketing business.
Well, thank you, Lee. Thank you for having me. I mean, that was quite a full introduction there. I'm a lifetime marketer. Um, I have done this in one form or another, from advertising to corporate communications to, having my own sort of content marketing agency. And in the last year and a half or so, I mean, ever since ChatGPT, sort of like OpenAI came up and sort of disrupted the market, um, I think lots of questions were raised for us as marketers, for us as entrepreneurs, for us as agile small businesses who adopt things faster than other people. And at that time, I had to make a few decisions. Either sort of like be fearful and be like, I'm going to do what I'm doing, and then one day this thing's going to replace my job, or I'm going to like truly focus on the idea of upskilling and seeing what it looks like to get in this place. So I think in some ways I'm super grateful that I was able to do some of this this playgrounding, if you will, for my own business and for the businesses of our existing clients. And then we saw like massive amounts of time were saved. So the first benefit, I often say that anytime I talk to people, whether it's existing clients or it's people who I chat with in the general networking space, the three problems that come up is no time, no money, no headspace.
So
Like a bandwidth.
as an entrepreneur, I can't even begin to tell you how relevant that is. So that's bang on.
Yeah, and so in that, it's not all of those parts of the equation that you can control at all times, but I definitely think that this is that outlier moment, right, with AI coming into the equation where it can sort of like bring in some firepower into one or all of those three problems for you. And so I started to focus more and more in this particular space, and eventually started to bring it to more people. I created a course in July last year, sort of build as you go, because there's no way anyone can create a course and say I know all about it, right? And so you have to like do it a little at a time. And then first I got 2 people, 3 people, 5 people, 15 people. It kept going. And then now a year later, I'm like, this is great, because now I'm not just talking theoretically. There's people who've practiced these concepts, provided feedback, that kind of thing. And then, like, so my goal is to continue to just create AI literacy. People talk about how you need to have like, financial literacy, you need to know how to cook, you need to know how to clean, you need to know basic home economics. This is one more of those things you're going to have to know. And from your perspective as an educator, for
Mhm.
kids, the sooner we learn and the sooner we wrap our heads around it, the sooner we pass it on to the next generation too, right?
Absolutely. So, because we're focused on supporting change makers, those that really want to be the best versions of themselves and also support change making in the world. So, how do you think that AI has had a positive impact? I think you've sort of illustrated that to a certain extent, that we're all time starved, and we want to make the best of our marketing budgets, and also our what creating strategies and making impact. So from your perspective, what's the good in it, and how can we continue to make sure that it goes in a positive direction? Because there's been a lot of negative conversations and media around AI, and the fact that it's taking away, nothing seems real anymore.
Yeah, authenticity is always a question mark, right? So for me, I think the real big question becomes, and I'm going to quote a bit of what Anne Handley, another content marketer, and she's Everybody Writes is the name of her book, and she talked about, like, it was like a scathing remark about the state of the world, where she was saying that, while this technology has the power to end world hunger, most of us are still using it to write like a 500-word blog post, right? And so
She's so funny. I
she's
want to give her
wonderful.
a shout out, because well, first of all, her book that you mentioned is a book that we use in the content creation course, and it's so funny and so relevant. And I think you can pick that book up every single time and get something out of it. So really admire her work, and I'm a bit of a fangirl. The other,
Me too.
a couple of months ago, Scott Stratton wrote about her, and I wrote back tagging her, saying how much her books and her content have inspired me. And then she sent me a LinkedIn request. I'm like, ooh, this is so
That's what
exciting.
success looks like. This.
Yes, yes, yes. I have a thing for authors, so yeah.
So, hi, Anne. We're
Yeah,
totally
so we'll
fangirling
we'll
over
we'll
here.
tag you on this one later, Anne. So yeah.
So I truly subscribe to that idea. I think we're still thinking about AI at a very tactical, task-oriented level, but it has so much ability. And then we really shouldn't be dismissing it as like a cheap marketing resource. So that broadly is the goodness in it for me, right? And then how do we regulate it and keep ourselves safe? I mean, there's a longer answer, but the too long didn't read version of the answer is the fact that the more of us that use it, the more democracy there is in the process of shaping it. If you look at the top leadership of AI right now, it is entirely monochromatic, and like there's no diversity. There's like four or five like white men who run that. And so if you really want to bring some perspective into it, if you want to get into who's using it, how it's being used, what is it being trained on, well, more of us need to use it, right? It's as simple as that. And so that's my perspective. That said, also let's talk about the idea of privacy, and is privacy dead to begin with, right? And let's take AI out of the equation for a minute and say in the usage of tools like Facebook and Google, there's a good deal of your privacy that you've already handed over. So sometimes these discussions are bigger than they seem. If at all we were to stop this particular avalanche, I think we would have had to do it like 10 years ago, not today. And so today, in the face of having all of it available, I think we need to like weigh it up and be like, there's the good and there's the bad. So how do we make sure there's more of the good and way less of the bad? So that's my I refuse to believe that anything else is possible, because technology has come around, whether it's the advent of the calculator, the computer, the internet, the ability to search. Things come up, and I remember a guest from our podcast 2 episodes ago from the financial industry, and she was talking about how in the end there you had to rip the passbooks out of the hands of the people because they wouldn't adopt online banking fast enough, right? And so there's a learning curve. Some of us are already here in year 2, and some of us will take another 5 years to get to the point where we feel comfortable with it, and that's okay. I think that's what creates the balance.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, I'm at a certain point, social media and LinkedIn was for early adopters. I started using LinkedIn and Twitter in 2008, and it was still like, I remember getting onto LinkedIn and being like, what is this for? Like, just not really getting like how to make it useful to me other
Yeah.
than just having a profile. And now, I mean, my gosh, I love LinkedIn. It's such a powerful tool. I know you're a power user of it as well. And so, it takes time for us to figure out how things are relevant and useful. And I think, are a bit of an early adopter as well.
Always have been, Lee. I mean, always have been with everything. It's funny, it takes a really long time to realize these things about ourselves. But, like, whether it was getting a computer, and thankfully, I mean, looking way back, I'm a Gen Xer. I'm 49 this year. And like back in the day when like my dad like put down a loan to buy me an Apple computer, like way back when I was like 19 or 20 years old. And it's like that same sort of energy is what's continued, right? I was a tech ghostwriter for a bunch of companies, and so like for too long I think I held myself back a little bit and said that, listen, I'm not a tech person. But
Mm,
then I realized you don't need to be. I'm the knowledge translator. I'm the person who takes all the tech talk and then makes it all normal speak, right? And so now
mhm,
that I feel like this idea of generative AI has gone so far in enabling that
mhm.
listen, I will tell anyone who will listen, because it's almost like having like a cheat code. And
Yeah.
I think everyone should have access to it. It's just about now it's about like, what shall we call it, like housekeeping and hygiene and creating rules and figuring out how to deploy it best. But I do believe everyone should have access to it.
Yeah, absolutely. I was following a post from Eleanor Beaton. I don't know if you know her.
I do. I've been to a
Yeah.
few of her programs. She's
Yeah,
awesome.
she is a go-getter, amazing, incredible entrepreneur that supports women in their business to become a profitable CEO. So, yeah, I always get a lot out of her content. And she talks about yesterday she was talking about things being that in order to really stand out in a crowded marketplace for your personal brand, you have to be bingeable, meaning that if someone likes you, if you have lots of like content for them to digest, that is going to take you so far in getting people to know, like, and trust you. And so, I was saying to my students yesterday, I'm like, think about how you're going to stand out in this crowded marketplace. Whether it's a podcast or a YouTube channel or a really creative and accessible newsletter that is consistent, like all of these things, public speaking. There's so many very powerful ways to build a brand. And I can say, as someone who is self-employed, I don't have a team of people. So I having this weekly show, AI has really helped me to start, like, for example, typing, copying and pasting your bio and saying, what we're going to be talking about, and asking them to put it into like digestible chunks to write the description. And then of course I go in and I edit that and make it relevant and on brand for the way I speak. So, how do you use it, say, in podcasting, since you have two podcasts? And as a fellow podcaster, they're very time consuming, um,
Yeah.
and they require a process to keep you organized and on top of things. So, do you use AI to help you
Yeah.
with podcasting?
Yes, I do. For podcasting in particular, I extensively use it. I mean, I mean, my business before the full focus on AI, and I still continue to do it, except with the help of AI, is helping people produce podcasts. And so in the podcasting space, I think there's a few parts of it. So there's the pre-production, which
Hmm.
is how do you prepare for an interview, and then have an interview, and then get the information that you need from it. And then there's the post production, which is like what happens once the interview is done. Like, how do you distribute it, how do you upload it, and how do you, like, cut it into smaller pieces perhaps, and continue to get mileage out of that piece. And so for today, I'll focus on the pre-production end of things, because I think there's a lot of people who will tell you what to do after, but I think that there's not enough attention on the back end of it. So the industry sort of default, if you will, for a podcast is a 30 to 45 minute one-on-one interview, much like what we're doing right now, right?
Hmm.
Um and the process of doing that, if you are doing it in the way that journalism sort of lays it out, requires that the host prepares for that. So for example, like if I were interviewing you, I'd be like, oh, who's Lee, and what does she do, and what does women in business do, and so what are her entrepreneurial philosophies, and then perhaps I need to have a look at your weekly show to see what your points of view are and how they roll out with guests. And then I have to think about, like, okay, so my audience is entrepreneurs who are struggling with their marketing. I wonder how Lee's perspectives would cross over with that. And then so that whole process I don't think people realize quite how much of a time suck that can be. Like, before you know it, you could have gone down that rabbit hole and spent hours on that and not really realized it. Or you could spend no time at all and then rock up to this interview, which ends up you're not sure what to highlight, because you ended up telling a hero's journey story about Lee, and there's really nothing for your audience to take away in terms of like actionable stuff, right? And so what I did is, like, I mean, I have a process for it, and I often talk about
Hmm.
how using AI relies, or successful use of AI relies on how clear you are about how you're doing things today, right? And so if you have a documented, clear process, if you have a tone of voice, if you have like I do podcasts on, like in my case, like the 4 a.m. report goes out at 4 a.m. on Thursdays, and we joke about not 4 a.m. ish, not Thursday ish, 4 a.m. on Thursdays, right? It's like a
So
hard
smart. I love that.
it's a hard journalistic deadline where, I mean, I am the author of Unboring, so I like a fun little sound bite to keep me accountable. And so the pre-production end of things, I got together with a fellow podcast, production sort of supermind. He worked for Sweetfish, which is one of the biggest podcasting agencies in North America. His name is Dan Sanchez, and he's also an AI optimist like I am. And we got together and we created this process. And it's a tool. It's available to anyone, and you can use it for free. It's called myshowrunner.com. So what you need to do is you need to go and copy and paste the LinkedIn like bio or LinkedIn profile of the person that you're interviewing, and then you put it in there, and then it will give you instantly like 5 different angles that you could talk to this person about. And then if you're like, oh, okay, I like angle 3, let's look at that, and then it'll give you some titles about what this episode could be about. And that's unusual, because I'll tell you, I've guested on about 50 plus podcasts in the last year alone, and I feel like most people haven't got that kind of prep done, because it takes time, it takes energy, and we're not journalists, right? I've hosted 300-ish podcasts, so I've got a few miles under my belt, but the average podcast host does not. And so that's what this tool was intended to do, is to really like crunch the time. 90 minutes odd of like research that someone could do is now possible in 5 minutes, because ChatGPT knows how to go and pull some information. And so I think that the second you know what you want and you clearly convey those instructions to a machine, you'll get incredible results with AI.
Huh. So is this a tool that is a plugin in ChatGPT,
It's a
or
custom GPT, yeah. So if
oh,
you I could let you have the link to just put into your show notes. But if
mhm.
you get into ChatGPT's GPT store, which is basically, for those who are not familiar, it's kind of like going to the app store
Right.
on your phone, right? And so a GPT store will give you a number. Other people have done some work, they've created some formats and formulas, and now when they make it available to the public, um, why not use it?
Absolutely.
That's what we've done.
Pause for just a moment. And if anyone who's listening, because I see we have, if my eyes are seeing correctly here, we have 6 people watching live. So if they want to put a question into the chat of wherever they're live streaming, we would be happy to break down anything that people have questions about. But while we're waiting for that, because it'd be great to be able to help people live on the call or on our live stream here. What are your go-to everyday? I use these AI tools. Which
Yeah.
ones? What do you do? What would
Oh, I
you
love
do?
that question. I'm definitely ChatGPT, and there's a lot of argument out there about what you should be using, especially because now Cloud, Claude, which is the Anthropic equivalent of ChatGPT, is available to everyone. Initially, it was only available to people in the US and the UK, and now it's available in Canada as well. So I definitely think you should pick one and stick with it and gain some mastery. So ChatGPT, I would say easily an hour or two a day of usage on ChatGPT for various things, even things that you won't think about, things like stuff for your personal life. Like the other day, one of my friends was like, oh, I love using it to get like gift suggestions. Like I have to take something to this blah 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 for this kid, or like it's a summer event and I want a hostess gift. Like these are things that, like, going back to that time, money, headspace equation, these are things that occupy your headspace, and I don't think it's quantified anywhere, right? And so being able to just ask your little assistant there, like, what should I take as a hostess gift that's going to be like under $25. Um,
Oh.
it's a great option.
So it's a life tool. It's not
It's
just
a
a
live tool.
yeah, yeah. I use it for, I'm forever have questions in my head about everything. So
So
I
that's definitely, yeah, go on. Yeah.
yeah, so I was just gonna say, like, I'm thinking about my Changemaker brand versus my Women in Biz brand, and so I ask questions about like, what do you think is better, right? I'm not forever. What's better? Is this better or that better? Or is this strategy better? That that sort of thing. And of course, there's tons of career prompts. People can use it for prepping for interviews, things like
Hmm.
that. So yeah, it's I think those it's one of those tools that crosses domains on work, life, and play.
So
Right?
so true, yeah. And
Yeah.
it's free, right, for the most part, and they're doing more and more because their core vision and mission is to make this available to the general public. The fact that this is available for free is truly a point of democratization to my mind. And in this moment, if you have access to the internet, you have access to a tool like this, right? And so that,
Mm.
I think that's why I keep dwelling on that as a tool. Apart from that, to take your question further, two other tools that I think entrepreneurs use regularly, which I have some perspective on. The first of them is a tool called Canva, right? Like a lot of us use Canva for our whatever. So Canva has quietly been really like boosting up their AI capabilities on a few levels. So right now, even if it's something like, presentation formats, or like removing backgrounds from images, or certain kinds of edits, it's really gone far. And if you already have a paid Canva account, I think it's worth playing around, or having whoever on your team who's doing it play around with it to see what's in there. And then the third of the tools is Perplexity, which is a search tool. It's perplexity.ai. And think of it like Google, um, except take away all the noise. It doesn't hit you with 10 ads and 20 geographical links and 35 paid promotions. Instead, it gives you, like a summary. So if you go in there and you're like, hey, give me a little bit of information on the state of let's say AI adoption in Ontario small businesses. It will give you something quite recent, unlike ChatGPT, which doesn't have access to the internet, which I think a lot of people confuse that. ChatGPT has models which are updated on the regular, and typically it's safe to assume that all of the data it's trained on is at least 6 months old, if not a year old. So if you want live results, you still have to rely on search. However, AI has been active, and that's where Perplexity comes up. So
Okay.
ChatGPT, Canva, and Perplexity, and you can own the world, people.
Oh, yeah, totally. So we have a question that's come in from Simran, and the question is, I wanted to ask an opinion regarding brands coming up with advertisements that are completely AI generated. For instance, the Toys R Us latest campaign.
Oh, okay. I haven't actually seen the Toys R Us campaign, but I can tell you completely AI generated stuff is never going to work,
Yeah.
because the way that things are right now, you should expect results which are anywhere from 60 to 95% with AI. And the difference is how you're prompting it, right? Like you've got to train it on your information. You've got to have a clear voice, for example. You've got to have like previous examples. You've got to have like a visual look and feel, all of those kind of things. Even if you provide all of that, unless you're going back and forth a few times and reviewing the material that ChatGPT gives you back, or any tool gives you back, and then giving it feedback, you're not going to get to that point. And I'd say, again, step aside from the AI for a second and be like, if you had a junior marketing assistant who was working on your campaigns and you let that go out without supervision, would you do that? You wouldn't.
Mhm.
So I'd say think about AI at the very least in the same way. Like
Mhm.
you do need oversight, you do need the chain of command, and that's where workflows come into play. So I wouldn't endorse just yet things going entirely out on unsupervised, unless that you're at a very high level of systematization. Perhaps you're a business that has a lot of, like, previously existing frequently asked questions and customer data and stuff, and then you have bots that are running that. By all means, but, like, just having a machine come up with something that took humans months in the past, it's an unreasonable expectation. It can help you to reduce the months to days, or even hours, but it cannot remove you from the equation yet.
And hopefully it never does, because I mean, I think humans are important to creativity and innovation, and I think that any tool should not be on its own, right? It needs humans to ensure that
Yes.
it's optimized.
And
So,
back to that point with from Anne Hanley, it's like
yeah.
the sooner we take all the other, like, things off our plate, the sooner we'll get to this place where we're able to put the immense power of the human mind to the bigger problems, to the problems that need solving for the like the next step for humanity, right? So I
Mhm.
think that's what's happening right now. This is taking a whole lot of, like, the the repeatable off of our plates. It's
Mhm.
taking a whole lot of the things that waste our energy, that are perhaps not the things that are moving our lives or our businesses forward, off our plates.
Yeah, I think that's true. It's like, if it's helping you to save time, then put it towards things that are useful. So thank you for sharing your thoughts on that. And I agree with you. I think that it's really important that we fact check, right? I think that's important, because
Hmm.
sometimes the information isn't correct. You always want to fact check anything, right? It's important that you make sure that the content that you're putting out into the world, your campaigns, that they're accurate. Okay, we've got another question that's coming through. Uh, we have a question. I'm interested in understanding how you effectively integrate AI alongside your unique skill set. Oh, this is a good question. Ensuring our approach remains distinct is key to avoid uniform results from
Yes.
brands. Yes, so
Yes,
true.
yes, yes.
So
So
true.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I have a book, like an old book actually, to reference for this. And you go back to, like basic foundational technologies, philosophies when it comes to technology, in my opinion. And so there is this book called The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks, and it's a great book. It's a slim volume and quite a quick read, and one that I've read a few times over the last couple of decades. But the core concept inside of this book is that each human has four zones. You have the zone of incompetence, which is really the things you're not so good at doing, right? And you really shouldn't be spending a whole lot of time trying to do that. And so the idea there is that you should find ways to partner with people or to delegate. And even if you go back to foundational things like partnering in marriage, the best marriages are the ones where you partner in a way that the other person's good at the things that you're not good at, right? And so you're rounding out your zone of incompetence in the hope that your whole is going to last a lot longer than if you were alone outside of the pack. So that's the zone of incompetence. Then comes the zone of competence, which you know how to do this, like we all know how to do this perhaps, but there isn't the biggest possibility of either making monetary gains or significant personal gains out of spending time in that zone. And so if you thought about it, it's like I can definitely construct a website, But like if I were to try and create a career in constructing websites or advising people on constructing websites, there'd be loads of people who would be better than me at
Mhm.
that. And then comes the zone of excellence, which is actually where I think people spend a lot of time without realizing that there's a zone above it. So if you look at it and you think about it, like a lot of your career tends to be spent in the zone of excellence. So in my case, that would be writing, right? A lot of my career has been like either monetizing my writing ability or writing for people or various forms of writing. And so that's a good thing, but like let's not stop there. We're already on this quest, this life quest, if you will. So the top zone is the zone of genius. And that's like the stuff which truly feels unique to you. And that's like, and the signs of that, people reject this, Lee. When you tell people zone of genius, and if they haven't heard about it before, if there's anyone on this call who hasn't heard about it before, your first instinct, I invite you to watch what you think about it. The first instinct tends to be, I don't have any genius. Like, no, I reject that word. Like, how can I possibly be genius? If I were genius, I'd be rich or whatever your first associations are, right? But every one of us, make no mistake, has a zone of genius, and in that zone of genius, the clues are when if you find people saying, "Oh my God, how did you do that so quickly?" Or "Oh my God, you're so good at this," or "Oh my God, you sorted things out after my daughter's birthday so quickly." Maybe that means your zone of genius is, organizing things. So it's in that zone, which for so many people is like fleeting, I think. Like you spend very small amounts of time over there, instead of spending like most of your life over there. So if you had to take this idea of four zones and then superimpose AI on it, I say let's start from the bottom. What are you not good at? Ditch it. Can AI take it off your plate? Can somebody who uses AI take it off your plate? Can one of your team members be taught how to use AI to just make it, easier on you? So that's kind of how I would answer this question, to Anam Sheikh, saying, you know what? How do you integrate it to your skill set? You spend some time figuring out what your zone of genius is. What are the things that you hate? Like ditch that first, and then slowly go up that chain until you can use AI to enhance. And when I talk about 100x in my messaging and my bio, this is what I mean. You're in that moment in time where really the ceiling is gone, and there, like, if you go back to even .com before it busted in the 2000s, there was a huge space of like incremental learning and people monetizing it, and then people overdid it and then it went down, but it still continues. We all use .com websites, right? So
It's true. That's so true. Uh, so one of the things that I always encourage people that I'm helping with their brand is to really consider how well they know themselves and how well they know themselves in relation to others that are within their pod, like their communities. And there's a really great website. Maybe you're familiar with this, and it was actually a guest speaker, that Christina Esposito, who I'm shouting out her too. She's a really amazing marketer, and it's called Crystal Knows. Have you heard of it?
no, I'm
Susan.
gonna go look it up right
Oh,
away.
wait till you learn about this tool. So, Crystal Knows is a application that it's a plugin that you lay on top of LinkedIn, and if your profile is filled out well, it knows so much about you in relation to like how to connect with you, like how to write an email to you, how to know like how you would respond to a sales, to a cold call, um, how to write an email, all that stuff.
So
And
I could go and look up your LinkedIn profile and learn
yes,
your
you
choices.
could.
I love that. That sounds like a nice
Yes.
GPT right there. Yeah.
Yes, it's really incredible, and it's literally a live overlay that it's a Chrome extension. So in order for it to work, you put the extension that you can download as long as you have a Chrome account, and then you go on to LinkedIn, and you find someone that you want, and you don't even have to be connected to them. That's how crazy it is.
I wonder
So
how many people will be freaked out by that.
it is a little freaky. But part of what I do is, because my students all do a lot of group work, and that sometimes there is personality conflicts. And so part of my courses now, everybody has to do their personality test. And so there is a personality profile assessment, core
I
value,
love that.
strength finder. So there's about 4 or 5 different personality tests that you can take when you are in Crystal Knows. And so you can get all of this really in-depth information about yourself. But the cool part is that you overlay it with how your personality is enhanced or could have some challenges with someone else that you want to know more about. So, for example, you're prepping for a job interview and you're meeting with the CEO of the company, or you're prepping for a sales meeting. So I personally used it, and it helped me to have an amazing conversation with a sales lead that I had. So
I love
highly,
that.
yeah, really highly recommend this tool. You get to, and I'm not being paid by this company in
Oh,
any,
of course. Yeah, yeah. Right now it's
but
like
it's
just
cool tools. I'm
share.
good that
Yeah, yeah,
way.
yeah.
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 So this tool, you get 10 free profiles that you can use, and then you have to sign up for, and you can earn credits towards more too. So it's pretty cool. Yeah.
It's hilarious. None of the companies that we've mentioned here at all are paying us a single dollar, but it's like, you know what? If it's available, everyone should totally have access to it. But and for those who are freaked out by it, I would say, maybe people are looking this information up on you right now on other things and not sharing with you. And when it does come to outreach, wouldn't you rather have a meaningful, thoughtful, pre considered outreach rather than someone people offer to sell me blog posts all the time, and I'm like, do you understand that's a core tenant of my business? Like, I mean, do you understand that I sell that to other people, and there's very little chance that I want your help because your grammar is wrong in the first sentence? Like, I mean, um
I sometimes like talk about zone of genius and Joan and zone of stupidity.
that's artificial
Like,
stupidity, Lee.
oh my goodness, I get so many unsolicited messages on LinkedIn, and they like, I'm like, did you even look at the one sentence that describes what I do? Like, why do you think that if we do exact same thing that I need you to help me do that thing? Like, it's just it blows my mind. So yeah, I think that if people took a little bit of time to thoughtfully approach someone instead of just messaging them without any, like, it's basically like they're just copying and pasting, right? I think that's really what it is, right? They're just like,
Hmm.
oh, this person connected with me, so I'm going to use my standard message and I'm going to spam them because I don't
Yeah.
know how else to market myself. It's I just do a one, it fits one way, fits everyone approach, and it's just so
It's
bad.
terrible. And there are so many damaging effects to it as well, right? Like, for example, I was thinking to myself, because of so many of these things that have happened along the way, I'm not one of those people who likes to go out and create content about it. But what has happened, I've noticed for myself, is that I tend to ignore all cold messages as a result. So I might be missing out on wonderful cold reaches because there's the majority of the sandwich just consists of like crap. And and sometimes if someone really thoughtfully reached out and does happen to reach out again, then maybe I'll see that I've missed it. But I do for sure miss it, because I'm like, I would rather not read 10 crap messages in order to get to one good message, right? And so I am, I guess, missing out because there is one good message in there for every 10 for sure.
That's true. Yeah, yeah. I always read all of my messages, but if someone hasn't done any level of homework to to start that conversation in a meaningful and thoughtful way, then I'm just not interested. So I
Mhm.
just don't respond. And if they keep sending me the same message over and over again, then I block them, because I'm like, this person, I don't want them to get any contacts through me and think that somehow I'm associated with that person, because my
Yeah,
reputation is really important to me. It's really the only thing we have in life.
that's right.
So
And
to
here's another a little joke for you. It's like, do you know the ones who reach out where they've obviously taken some type of course or some type of program where they're told to ask questions, and so they'll come in hot with 100 questions, and I'm like, sure, Brenda, let me just stop what I'm doing and type out the answers to all of the questions you have about my business right away, Brenda. I mean,
yeah, like I don't have anything better to do. Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. I'm just curious, do you have a paid Chat GPT account? Because right now,
yeah.
I do. Uh, I've just found, but I don't know. Like I got it probably a year ago, and then I turned it off for a while, and then I turned it back on again. So I'm just curious. Do you have a paid account? Do you think that the average person should get a paid account, which is
I
around
think that
$20?
you have to sort of like, I mean, obviously, with most things, there's like a bit of a rubric of your own personal sort of needs.
Right.
And right now, a lot of it that was previously paid has been made free, such as the custom GPT thing, which I thought was a pretty key paid feature, which is now available for free. The
Right.
other thing that's available for free is the ability to attach images or alternative formats, which was previously a paid feature and quite key. And so the reason that I will continue to pay is because I'm something of a power user of ChatGPT. That, like I said, there's at least 2 hours a day I'm going back and forth with ChatGPT on a few things. And I think that for that kind of usage, it's $20. It's like buying a few new pens every month, right? And so definitely suggest you pay for it if that's the level of usage. And the reason for that is because the access could go away. When you have a free account, you still could get to that point where it's like you are at capacity, you need to stop, or for example, like too many users are using it right now, and so there's no access, which was happening before, and which was one of the reasons why many of us, you included, I'm sure, that we signed up for a paid account because you wanted continuous, like, reliable access. So yeah, if you are a power user, anything over like an hour a day, I'd say it's worth it.
Yeah. So one of the things that I used it for, the paid version, was the plugins, or those, like you said, sort of like, um, if the Apple Store. So
Yeah, 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 the apps, yeah. Um,
the apps, the plugins,
like I
or
use the Instacart plugin.
yeah, yeah. So are those available on the free, or do you still have to pay in order to get
I
out?
you still have to pay to access. I think some of them you do have access to the store, but I guess like the how much access and how many you can access at a time. Like if you use one today and one tomorrow, probably you can, but like you'll still have, let's call it, service interruption unless you have a proper paid account.
Okay. So we're getting close to the end of our time together. I just feel like it started and now it's almost done. I can't. That's a sign of a really great conversation.
Yay!
Yeah. So what are your top prompts? So let me just go back, because I'm just going to open up the description. So you talk about a strategic marketing prompt library, which is a part of your program, AI, get the AI advantage into your marketing. So
Yeah.
can you give us a little bit of a taste of some of these tools? Yeah, we'll
Yeah,
start with that.
so prompts, I think it has prompts need to, like, in order to, in the old days, you had to write code in order to get machines to do what you wanted them to do, right? And so I think the idea of prompting has replaced code. So in other words, pretty much all of tech is now available in a no code way, which is quite revolutionary if you think about it in its own thing. This does not mean that you can just offer shitty instructions to someone and get good work. It's the same as anything else. It's the same as, again, going back to your role as an educator, you do have to educate in this whole process, right? And whether it's a junior employee, whether it's a partner, whether it's a, like vendor, whatever it is, there's an onboarding process. So think of prompts like that onboarding. And the more detailed and more specific those prompts are, the better the machine's likely to perform for you. And so I think that going forward in the next year or two, prompt engineering or learning how to prompt machines will be quite a key part of our learning, right? Like how we learned how to use the internet, I think we'll learn how to use this. So inside of the AI Advantage program, in addition to tutorials to use a few tools and how to bring together techniques to make your marketing and your wider business better, I have a prompt library. Now the prompt library is categorized into various marketing needs. So they're like, there are SEO prompts, there are content audit prompts, there are content calendar prompts, there are like splitting up your content into blog posts, all of those. So if you ask me what are some prompts that I really like, and again, I can let you have that so that you can put it into your notes for your audience.
Mhm.
I've got a super prompt where you can take a session like this, which is 45 minutes to an hour, and then break it up into 30 pieces of content. And it gives you the prompts
Wow.
every step of the way. Now, will all of them be the exact same as if I or my team did it? No, it's going to be way better than having zero prompt and zero support. So if that helps your audience, it'd be great. So yeah, that is one of the things that I really like to do. It's like, here's the transcript. The most common prompt I use is, here's the transcript to a session, whatever it is. It's a podcast, it's an interview, it's a whatever. And from it, please derive, 4 topics that I could talk about or whatever. So I'd say that is my number one prompt, is having it analyze my existing material.
Makes sense because, I think that entrepreneurs and marketers need to work smarter, not harder. And
Yeah, for sure.
it's important to think about how your content could be repurposed and broken up into micro. Like I've been following for years. I've followed Seth Godin, but I noticed now that I don't know how long he's been doing this, so it could be for a long time, and I've just caught on to it recently. But his emails are super short,
Yeah.
right? Or sorry, I shouldn't say his emails. His blog posts are super
His
short.
daily blogs. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're very digestible, and I thought that was brilliant. So who knows? Maybe he's repurposed some of his content to create shorter, more digestible pieces because he knows that people have zero attention span these days, right?
Yeah.
So I
Right.
think
Why
I
not?
think that's a really smart. I don't know how that impacts his SEO, but it seems like who knows how relevant SEO is going to be if we're just not going to search engines anymore and we're just relying on AI. I guess that's a question I could ask you. What do you think is what
I
will be the
think
future of
it will. Oh, I think it'll always work. I think it'll be replaced by things like Perplexity that use search more intelligently. That will give you a summarized version of the answer you're looking for,
Okay.
rather than throw a bunch of links at you.
Okay.
And even within those searches, you will have links, but potentially, it'll be the summary is more important than the specific links, right? We're almost like we are the links that will be the fact check, if
Right.
you will.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's something I've noticed is new in ChatGPT is that it used to not give you links and now it provides you links.
Yeah. And I always advise people check the links, because sometimes it looks like it's a link, but if you click it, it's actually a link to the thread that you're working on ChatGPT. And
Ooh, okay.
so check your links, people.
Okay. Good fact checking thing there. Love it. Love it. The next question I have for you in relation to your program is you mentioned that you have step-by-step tutorials. So do you want to tell us a little bit about that? Is there one because you mentioned that it can help you to dramatically increase your revenue. So what are some of your favorite step-by-step tutorials that are in your, is it, I guess, an academy or?
Yeah, in the academy is a great word. Yeah, so I think the tutorial, they the idea here is that many of us know how to use these tools, right? Like, so think of it like, you know how to use the internet, but how do you really fully benefit from it is going in with a strategy on what you want to learn and what you want to do and those kind of things. And so I think the each of the tutorials inside the program is focused specifically on solving bigger marketing problems. You're not just creating content or creating marketing for the sake of creating it. It's much more like, if these are your goals, then this is what you need to do. And I think, like, on a quarterly basis, I do these more strategic sessions, and those ones are probably my favorite to make as a creator. And I find that the people have a lot of value from them as well, which is like, it's almost like recenter to what are we trying to do here. Like, of course there's going to be endless tools, of course there's going to be endless tactics, of course there's going to be endless techniques, and we're only scratching the surface. In the next 10 years, this is going to like dramatically like increase. And so I think it helps to come back to base and think about, what are we trying to do, what are the problems we're solving, and those sessions, those tutorials of like coming back to base and rethinking the marketing foundations, those are my favorite.
Okay, very good. Uh, and so how much, tell us a little bit more about your program. So, or your academy that I've
Yeah,
called.
I love it.
I don't
Oh,
really. Uh,
there are two.
how does it work? Is it a monthly fee? Just tell me a little bit about it because I might be interested in signing up myself.
That's awesome. So there is a monthly version of it, and it's $60 a month.
Mhm.
And there's also like an annual version of it. It's a $500 a year kind of, you pay it at one shot for the year. And with it comes the tutorials, the prompt library, as well as like invitations to some open houses and events that happen through the course of the year.
Oh, sounds like a great business. Fantastic.
I love it, Lee. I feel like, along life, we look for the things that we feel like combines our purpose and our passion and our ability to make money. And while I said I'm a lifetime marketer, like, I will find the next best thing and I'll keep following it. And that's what I believe keeps me relevant. And I think that right now there's no denying that this is the way we're going to do it in the future. And the sooner we can hop on the thing, the better for us. And like, who we learn from matters. And when I looked around myself and I'm like, okay, who we learn from matters. And I'm like, so who is teaching us? Who's teaching us? Oh, is it me? Okay, I'll do it.
Ah, that's great. So we always end our sessions with three action power moves that our change makers can do based off of our experts. So, what are your three steps or three power moves that our listeners can take away from this conversation? What are the three things that they should look to do in the next couple of weeks?
Um, I think the first thing that you should do is, if you're not already using it regularly or consistently, like, pick a tool and use it consistently. Like, and I think the easiest one is probably ChatGPT, and it's the free version. Um, and just consistently getting some miles under your belt is a great idea. I think the second thing to do is to try and use it for your personal life. Like, the next time you're stuck with, like, oh, there's so many life admin things that I haven't done, or like, it's just one day when I have time I'll do these things. Like, spend a half hour on a Saturday or a Sunday just trying to see if this thing can help you. And I think the third thing to do is to just figure out a community in which you can learn. If you're serious about this and you want to implement this either in your job, like finding the next level of your job, or improving your business, I think it helps to join the right communities. And then learning by association is exponential, in my opinion. That's why we're all in classrooms to learn.
Absolutely. Those are some great tips. So we have one more question that from a repeat YouTube change maker. And so Naomi Street Food from Nigeria. So that's so cool. An international change maker is using traditional marketing for at least 20% of digital marketing, but not very much AI. Can you what are some strategies for marketing that you could use AI? Like when you're talking about strategy.
I Yeah, I think that, you know what, if very little of the market is using it, it's already an opportunity to assess it and see whether you are able to use it in some way to help people, and even better to help people at a price to build your business. Um, I definitely think the fact that it's free is a good place to start. So try to like sign up for a free account, hop in there, and my big hack is ask AI to help you help it. Like ask it, "Hey, I'm trying to do this. How tell me how to do it," and it will give you instructions. It's literally like not enough, I would say not even 1% of people are using AI to help them. Most people are going in and telling it what to do, instead ask it. So that's my tip for you, Naimi. Go in there and say, not even 20% of my people, I mean my market is using it. Can you please advise how I can help people in a more what shall I call it? Is in a less saturated market.
Okay. Do we have time to take one more question?
Sure, let's do
All
it.
right, cool. Let's do it. All right. So we have a question from Kanishka and wants to know, for someone that's new to marketing, should you have a profound knowledge of SEO, or is it better to just focus on new trends like AI and marketing? Because many are saying that SEO is going to become irrelevant in the coming days. So we sort of talked about that for a
Yeah,
moment.
yeah, yeah.
Curious what your point of view of this is.
I don't think SEO is going to become fully irrelevant. I think we will continue to search for things, whether or not we see the search results. Like I said, you there will be a back end search, and how things are prioritized in order to be discovered by search will still continue to matter. Whether that's going to happen by people, stuffing a bunch of keywords into content is the question. I don't think that's how SEO will work. Instead, it'll be more like, how often do you publish? What is the quality of the publishing that you're putting out there? Like, how many collaborators do you have with the cross linking to your site? And those things, I think it's always worth learning that. So, Kanishka, in terms of should you only learn about AI marketing? It's not a bad idea. I think in this particular time, in 2024 July, it's not a bad idea to seriously niche down into saying, I only focus on AI driven marketing strategies, because there will be so few people who do that. So that might give you an edge. That's my answer.
Yeah, and maybe use the AI SEO tools. Get to know those
Yes,
and get the advantage there. Right?
yeah,
Working smarter, not harder.
agreed.
Yeah, yeah. So you're going to be coming to the York Continuing Education uh, School over in North York on, I believe, the July
On the
31st, right?
31st of July, it is. Yes, I will see you
So
there.
yeah. So my students will get to pick your brain. Oh my gosh, that's that word that entrepreneurs hate to hear, but we do
It's
like to
okay
do
in a
that.
classroom, Lee. It's allowed in a classroom.
Yeah, you're allowed to pick our brains in the classroom.
Yes.
Don't ask.
I love that. I'm looking forward to it. And when you offered up the option of virtual and in person, I'm like, I'm going to take my hermit self and go to an in person thing.
Well, I'm so excited to physically be face to face with you because it's been years, and I'm really excited to actually have the real Susan in my presence. Like this,
Yes, I look forward to it. Do you have one more second for me to show you my sleeping beagle? Hold on.
I you have to. My beagle is up at the cottage. I
Ah,
can't
here.
do mine other than
He doesn't like to be picked up.
Oh, look at you.
Say
Oh,
hi.
he's so
Say hi.
cute. Here, I'll show you. My son has this picture, and I did
I love it.
yeah, I did include a picture of Carmela in one of our messages on LinkedIn. Her at the beach. So what a beautiful beagle puppy you got there. Oh,
He was so fast asleep, he doesn't know which way he's going now.
oh, beagles can sleep like nobody's business.
That's true. When I did my research before we got this dude, after a long time, I hadn't had a dog for over 10 years. And then I was like, it needs to be something simple. And this was one of the reasons we got a beagles because they sleep all the time.
Yes, yes. The first year, they're like bat shit crazy. Like they're crazy. There is nothing crazier than a beagle. Like nothing.
And then they calm down.
And then they become very chill. But the first year, all of my shoes, the backs of my shoes. I don't know if you know Natasha Mitchell. Do you know Natasha? No, she's a amazing entrepreneur and a friend of mine. And she came to my cottage, and she was moving back to Australia, and she had just bought these expensive new sandals.
Oh
And my bloody dog went and ate the back of the strap, and she had to throw it out. I was so embarrassed. I'm like, oh. So
no.
anyway,
Beagles.
well, as much as I could like just keep talking to you forever. We will wrap things up, knowing, and especially knowing that you will be live with us in the classroom on the 31st is incredible. So thanks for sharing your wisdom, and just for final parting words, where can we get more of you?
I'm on LinkedIn a ridiculous amount of the time, probably unhealthy amounts of time. And while most like people like to act like someone else is taking care of their LinkedIn, no one takes care of mine. It's me. It's me. Come talk to me.
Okay, and your website?
Peacefulaimarketing.com.
All right, and check out your AI Advantage program. I will be myself. So thank you again, Susan, for an incredible conversation and for helping to empower our community in this hour. And next Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we will have marketer Jennifer Kelly on our show. So looking forward to welcoming her. It's been a
Love it.
long day.
Well, thank you for having me, Lee. Bye.
Bye.